Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I'm super excited because we have a super special guest, Jacqueline, aka Jackie, aka the career doctor. Jacqueline Criddle is joining us with some really, really important information that I think will be game changing for you. Learning how to navigate LinkedIn so that it works for you. I'm not going to talk too much, but I will tell you this. Jackie, the career doctor, brought my LinkedIn back to life. All right. So just take it from there. I'm going to actually just give it to Melina really quickly here. Melina Lawrence, she's going to help just give a couple housekeeping details, and then we're going to give it to Jackie. I don't want to waste any time. She's got a lot of information. Melina, you want to go over the house rules here real fast?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Sandy. Welcome, everyone. A few housekeeping rules. We are actually going to utilize the chat today. Some of our past events, we know we didn't utilize the chat. We just set up a video link. So you can raise your hand when it's time for Q&A. You can find the hand raising emblem at the bottom of your screen, and you can just click on it anytime you have a question. I'll leave it to Jacqueline to actually, Jacqueline, feel free to integrate the conversation or wait solely for Q&A. If there are highlighted questions and the questions that were submitted early on, I'll definitely put them in the chat when we have the specific time allotted for Q&A. But if you see anything in the chat, Jacqueline, that you, again, want to highlight and it's dead spot on, or a burning question that you think is relevant, feel free. And that is so to the audience, as far as the attendees, know that feel free to ask any questions at any time, because we're watching the chat and we thank you for being here. And use the Q&A. Last but not least, please utilize the Q&A button to submit your questions so that we can provide you with specific answers to your questions, which you'll also find at the bottom of your screen. And that is that. Thank you so much for joining NAMIC Southern California's event today on the power of LinkedIn over resume.
Fantastic. So I guess I'm taking over at this point. All right. Well, welcome everybody. And thank you once again for coming out and joining NAMIC and myself for the power of LinkedIn over a resume, short, quick seminar today. And we're going to be talking about a variety of things. But before we get started, I would love to kind of poll my audience really quick and just find out where everybody's from. So if you could use the chat box and put in some information about where you're from, that would be awesome. And kind of just give me an idea, my gatekeepers, on where everybody's from, because I can't see the chat box right now.
So we have some folks from Los Angeles. Majority of the people are from Los Angeles that are responding. Los Angeles. Some folks are saying chat is disabled. Please use your Q&A to answer the question. Don't use the chat. Use Q&A, please.
Okay.
Los Angeles. Majority of the folks are from Los Angeles.
Okay, Los Angeles is in the building, so we're excited to have you guys here today. Well, as my previous host have mentioned, my name is Jacqueline, aka Jackie, aka the career doctor. I wear many hats, and those are just a few of them. Just to give you a little bit of background and framework of who I am and the work that I do. So I am an executive career coach. I own my own executive career coaching business called the Career Doctor Consulting LLC. I have been doing work related to career coaching, career planning, life strategy for greater than 2 decades. To date, I have coached over 650 corporate executives. I primarily focus on the C-suite and working with professional-based organizations like NAMIC. And I also have another hat where I am a nonprofit leader for greater than a decade. I have been responsible for many young lives. I've sent over 1,200 young adults off to college and counting, and I am very proud of that work. But with that work, what I have found, whether they're millennials, Gen Zs, corporate executives or mid-level management, no matter where you are in your life, we all have a need to kind of brand ourselves and get our message out there. And people are always intrigued by who we are and the work that we will do. So LinkedIn is going to be a very key component of that work. The reason that I asked the question early on about where everybody's from is because LinkedIn is a vessel for which it's only as good as the eye of the observer, right? So that person that's on the other end of things, depending upon, what company they're from or what culture they are part of or what community or what skill sets they have, that's how they're going to see the LinkedIn profile that they're looking at, be it their own or someone else's. They have it from their own vantage point. So it's very subjective, right? LinkedIn is. And that's why I will encourage you, as the very first thing that we talk about before we get started, not to emulate your LinkedIn profile from mine or anybody else on this panel, but look at your individual needs and the message and the brand that you would like to share for yourself, because everyone is going to look different and feel just a little bit different. So as we get started, we're not going to necessarily utilize all of the tools, but we're going to utilize maybe the hand raise feature, or you can simply put your name or information in the chat. So I'd like to find out, is there anyone or how many of you have utilized LinkedIn, and for what reason have you utilized it in the past? So if you want to put that into the Q&A, or if somebody wants to raise their hand and answer the question, that's fine with me. And if we might have one person that might be open to sharing, is there a way that we can unlock that person's, just select one person, Melina, and allow them to share?
Yes, Danielle can monitor that aspect, and be able to open up their line to give them permission to participate and speak.
Yes, I can let people answer live, or we can promote them as a panelist as well.
Right. So now anyone that has answered that question that wants to share with us how they've utilized LinkedIn in the past, let's just take one or two people. Anyone that's there, we can go ahead and take them.
Any volunteers? Someone like El Vasquez, I see you use it. Cliff, any volunteers? Please raise your hand.
We got quite a few people raising their hands.
So we have Luz, Danielle, and then we can have Cliff and or Diane Short.
Okay. Are they open? Hi, Cliff. How are you? Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Good, Cliff. So you said that you've used LinkedIn in the past. Would you mind sharing with us how you utilized it?
I use it in two ways. I use it as a sales tool to search out potential partnerships for production. And I also use it, for any kind of job opportunities that might be worthwhile.
Okay, so marketing and job search. Excellent. Okay.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Hi, this is Lou Scheibel.
Hi, how are you, Lou? Nice to meet you.
Hi, thank you. I use it to connect with new folks when I meet them. Instead of handing them a business card or asking them to friend me on Facebook or social media, because there are just so many platforms, it's so much easier to just either send them my link, or we just say, find me through LinkedIn. And it always works really well, because then we get to know each other a little bit more. And then we start connecting via chat and stuff. So that's how I use it.
Excellent. So you're more or less expanding your network. Anybody else out there utilizing it? Thank you so much for that, Lou. That's great. Is anyone else out there utilizing it in any other ways? Anybody else?
Hi there, this is Tracy Brown Young. I actually use it as a hiring manager. I look for candidates in LinkedIn and also trying to find out who I might know that knows an individual that would make a good candidate for our organization.
Yes, so the recruitment tool, yes. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Excellent. All right, well, we've got a couple of different strategies out there for how people are utilizing it. But I think everybody should know that there are a couple of key ways, and I think you guys mentioned some of them. So I'm just putting a few of them up on the board today. So we're utilizing it, 1, for networking, 2, job search, personal and professional branding, to market and or sell. Nobody mentioned it, but it's also utilized as a tool to get certified or educated or informed, i.e. recruit. And then the last one, I think, is the most important one. It allows us to stay ready, because LinkedIn is going to work when we aren't. So whether you're looking for a job or if you aren't, if you're satisfied where you are, guess what? There's someone like that young woman that just mentioned about the recruitment that is still actively out there seeking the type of talent that you may possess. So being able to stay ready is going to be a key element for us as we think about how we want to, have a LinkedIn profile and utilize it. So that's the biggest one of the day. So what we're going to do is we're going to dispel some of the myths about LinkedIn and why it's more valuable than the resume. We're going to take a look today at the headshot help and backgrounds that brand. And we're also going to look at some headline hacks. And then if we have enough time, we'll talk about a few other things that are key because we plan to come back, because LinkedIn could go on for almost 2 weeks. It's just that intense. So you're just getting a tip of the iceberg today, but we're going to make sure that these are some value-added tips that really take you through those several first top cards. So as we think about LinkedIn and how we utilize it and how will it benefit us in terms of LinkedIn utilizing the tool, a couple of things I want us to think about. So we're going to think about how we can grow our network utilizing LinkedIn. We're going to think about how we need to increase our visibility. We're going to think about providing a platform which can kind of give us credibility, because it's one thing to say that you do a particular type of work on a resume or something like that, but then having somebody kind of quantify it and, validate it, and you get credibility. We're going to look at how LinkedIn can utilize that. We're going to think about a brand, because a lot of people just pop a profile out there. They put in the very basic elements, but it really doesn't resonate and speak to us in terms of what's your message, what's your brand. And so also what content is needed on LinkedIn, kind of like your pitch statement, because LinkedIn is kind of like our personal pitch that's always out there for others to kind of go back to. So we're going to talk about that. And really, we're going to really focus in on a way in which LinkedIn demonstrates how others feel about our work, because there are a lot of laws and legislation and things that are happening at the employer group level where we're no longer able to go back when I first started working and say, hey, I'm Jack, and, I just wanted to give you, a little bit of feedback on how Cliff is as, a business partner. We're not able to kind of give those recommendations like we used to. So there needs to be a vessel that's out there that is always present, that someone can look into and kind of get a feel for where you are in terms of how others feel about your work. So the first place we're going to do is we're going to start at the very top, looking at our headshot. But before we do, I want to give you guys a little bit of hindsight. So LinkedIn is built off of a series of what we call stackable cards. And if you look at a LinkedIn profile, which I'll toggle out to here in a little bit, you'll notice that they look like little cards. The feel of our LinkedIn profiles has changed over the past 4 months because LinkedIn has done a systematic overhaul, right? They've refreshed their whole system. So the thing about it is they did it in chunks. So you might look at your profile and it looks one way, and then you might see someone else, and maybe there's just a little bit of a nuance. Maybe they don't have a camera up in the right-hand corner to add photos where, you might have a pencil or a plus sign or something like that. They're little nuances. That's because they're systematically upgrading LinkedIn in chunks. So they'll get to you. I find that if you've had your early adopter to LinkedIn and you've had your profile for a really, really long time, maybe they may have not gotten to you in every aspect. So just keep that in mind as you're working with this tool. So as I mentioned before, LinkedIn is built off of a series of stackable cards, starting at what we call the top card. So the top card, if I can toggle out here for just 2 seconds, the top card is, let me go back here. Okay, I'm just going to toggle out for a quick second because I want to make sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. So this space, can you guys see my Rachel McReynolds LinkedIn profile here on my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So the top card is the space and place where we have this background image, our name, and all of the pertinent information as it relates to her background and experience, her career title. So this is a top card. And when I reference stackable cards, as you can see, the about and the activity and experience and all the other subsections are little cards that kind of filter in. So if everybody's kind of familiar with that, I will take us back into presentation mode and go back here. So starting with that top card where we have our headshot. So I don't know how many of you guys have seen this, but we're going to talk a little bit about it. So this image that's on our screen right here now is the same woman, believe it or not. And earlier when the pandemic first started, she got a lot of traction. I say she's a marketing genius. Some of you might say, not so much. But millions of people from ABC News to CNN, LinkedIn users actually hit that page. So this is the same woman. This is this person before pre-pandemic, and this is her now, so to speak. I don't know if she's changed it because I haven't had the chance to go look, but this is where she was during the pandemic. And her philosophy was that the world's changing. We're a more relaxed mode. We're working from home, and we should be more comfortable and relaxed. Employer groups are more receptive to these things, and this is how I want to be received. I no longer want that stuffy image. So just by a show of hands, how many of you like this new image? And anybody, I'll just pick one person that might want to give me some feedback on it. Diane Shorty, I think that's how she pronounces it. It's the first person that popped up. Is she willing to speak?
Yes.
Okay, Diane, so tell me, what are your thoughts about these two images?
Oh my God. They look like two totally different people.
Yeah.
And I'm very particular about headshots. Whenever there's a photo, I just feel like you need to have the photo that looks most like you look, one, but two, is professional in that you feel good that where you are when you're not there, if that makes sense. It's like having the photo of yourself. Like, I should look better out in the world than I do when I'm at home.
Yeah, yeah.
And the one to the right looks like she's just home and she's relaxed, and it sort of she's a beautiful woman. However, it doesn't lend itself to the professionalism that you want others to see when you put yourself on a platform that is public.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you for sharing. So
absolutely.
Some of the feedback of over the years, over the time, I won't even say years, over these months that I have been coaching people, I show people this photo and I get a lot of different feedback, but I'll tell you my own personal. My own personal is that I'm not in favor of either image. The first one is more like a passport photo. It's like stoic. She's very, not approachable. We discount the value of a smile. A smile lets somebody know I'm approachable. I'm able to engage with you. The second one, she brings in the smile. And I do agree with her that we can ease it up a little bit. We're working from home. Everybody's kind of receptive. I've been on the call with many COOs, CFOs, and presidents at Fortune 500 companies, and they're relaxed. I get it. But this one is like, I rolled out of bed with no effort. So I would think she could really benefit from somewhere in between, a happy medium in between. So she needs to book a photo shoot in now. So we're going to just do a little fun game to keep us engaged, because I'm big on engaging so that you guys don't get bored with this. So I'm just going to pick two people. So I'm going to choose Sandy and maybe one other person from the audience. Anyone that would like to engage. Joanna? John Anna, am I pronouncing that right? Vanderspool? Yay. All right. How are you? Pronounce your name. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Johanna Vanderspool.
Johanna. Okay, Johanna. So looking at these images on the screen, I don't know, do you know how to use the annotation tool?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So can you check off the ones that you think are good photos and great headshots that should be on via LinkedIn?
Can you, no, I guess I don't know how to use the annotation. Use your check mark annotation tool and place a check mark. Okay, I'm not sure I have that. Do I have that?
You may not have it. You may be able to, can you use your, let's see.
It's okay. If you need to pick somebody else, that's all right.
By a show of hands, don't worry about it. I'll make it simplify it. I'm not, we keep it easy. The pandemic has taught us one thing, to be flexible, if nothing else. So starting at the top one up here with the young woman with the pink suit on, yay or nay?
Yay.
Next to it?
Yay.
Next to it?
Nay.
Okay. Any reason why nay?
Well, it's on the fence for me because I would like to see more of her.
Yes, yeah. So that image is a little bit, it's zoomed in too close.
Yes.
So the photo shoot is supposed to be forward facing, up to your shoulders where you can see me now. And we'd love to have you give us a smile if you can. So this is beautiful woman. We just would like her to be zoomed back a little bit further from the image. What about this gentleman?
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. But I mean, I think that's a little too casual. And you can see a lot of, I don't think it's a very professional shot.
Yeah, so the first thing that caught my eye here is that the imagery in the background, right?
Yes, yeah,
the imagery in the background of the wine bottles and that, it's all about perception, right? It's all about perception. So we want to always have a neutral background, a neutral canvas. And when we can't have it neutral, we're going to do like Susan has up here. She's kind of done what we kind of have done, the filtered, distorted background. So it's neutral, so to speak. We really need to look at that. There are tools like canva.com that can take this very same image and completely remove that background imagery. So definitely not a go in terms of the background imagery. As far as his relaxed fit, this is what I will say. Whether you're a Gen Z, a millennial, a Gen Xer, it doesn't matter where you are in your age grouping or who's the observer of this. Professionalism is undeniable at any age. So when you think about how you want your LinkedIn to look, you no longer have to have this image up here at the top where you got the shirt and tie. You could be like this gentleman here where you got an open collar polo or a collared shirt. So the shirt is okay. It's just more about what the image that you want to convey. So I always say, when in doubt, lean in on the side of caution and go with business professional. What about this one here next to it, Matthew Robinson?
Nay. Too far away.
Nay. Yeah, too far away. So it's pretty awesome. Matthew is Forbes under 30 scholar from the University of Chicago. So his pedigree is spot on. And that's definitely, he's over here doing an internship at Loop Capital, definitely someplace and something you want to boast about. I would say that he needs to look at more of a headshot. So you're right in line there. What about down here in the pink?
Yay.
Yay, yeah. Next to it?
I would say yay. I like this one.
Yeah, so I would say nay. And the only reason is that this is one of my mentees, Nia, professional attire, business professional. But remember, the rule is up to the shoulders, forward facing, smiling.
Sure.
Okay, so that would be the nay. And what about this last one? I think this is one of your own, Namic.
Yes, I know Jeff. Yes, I would say I think Jeff could do better.
Yeah, so Jeff's willing to take it all in today. So Jeff,
love you, Jeff. I haven't seen you in a while.
We love you, Jeff. I'm going to have that profile. I'm telling you, I'm going to make it awesome for you. So the reason for your selection of Jeff as a nay?
Yes, nay.
Okay, but why?
I think that it's not, I can't see the full face. It's cut off at the crown. too close. And while he's smiling, I don't feel like it's professional. I think it's just kind of low res. And yeah, I think he could do better.
All of the above. Kudos, all of the above. He's got a side pose photo. So it's as if I'm looking at you and I'm doing this. And so we want to try to get something, and that most likely, I bet that this photo was one of his favorite where he's smiling, or one of the few where he might have been smiling. I get that a lot from my men because they don't smile very often when taking photos. So when they find one, it's like, let's go for it. So everybody kind of has an idea of where they could go in looking at these images. You guys did a great job in sharing. The photo image does make a difference. It is how others are going to form a perception and how they see you. So again, when in doubt, err on the side of caution. Professionalism, business casual, at any age, it's undeniable. All right, so we're on to the next thing. So how it works. So we're looking at our LinkedIn profile, and you may notice in your top card, you have this space here that's called the headline. And so I'll show you in a second how it works, but I want to talk a little bit about the headline. So this headline where it says executive career coach, LinkedIn subject matter expert, and all that good stuff, and that's an old headline and an old profile of mine from the past. But LinkedIn works this way. So if you're a talent acquisition, a headhunter, or a recruiter, and you go on LinkedIn and you begin to plug in keywords that are synonymous with the role that you're trying to fill. So you're trying to seek out a career coach, an author, an HR consultant, or what have you. When you put in those keywords, the very first place that LinkedIn supplies that content where they pull and extrapolate data is from the headline. Then it has a trickle down effect, right? It's going to go then to the about summary section. Then it'll move down into the experience section. So what do you think happens, Danielle, if you can? What do you think happens when you have maybe 2 or 3 words, or you don't have an about section? How could that work for or against you? Is she still with us? Is Danielle still there? Oh, yeah.
I'm still here. Hi. Okay. So, well, if it's based upon a logarithms, I would think that certain things wouldn't pick up. Like if you're looking for a specific job opportunity, it wouldn't pick up because it's not listed it's not listed as part of your keywords in your profile. I don't know.
So that's it. I mean, that's just the gist of it. You lose opportunity. Simply put, you lose opportunity because the more content, the more data that's there, off you are. So that is where the question comes in about whether or not LinkedIn should in fact mirror the resume. I get all kind of varying opinions about it, but simply put, yes, it should. It should mirror the resume and go beyond the resume, because the purpose of LinkedIn is for others to get to the depth and breadth of you. And some of that content that you would put onto that, you can't put it on a resume. You'd be well beyond 2 pages, well beyond 3 pages. So the way that a person finds out how others feel about you, what types of other things you're engaged in beyond the work atmosphere, where you volunteer, what you do, that goes on LinkedIn. So your headline should resonate in this way. Across your headline space, it should be first your title that you hold, your present title or the work that you're doing. The subsequent areas where you see the divider lines are your key, most validated areas of expertise. Because remember, this is the first place that LinkedIn is going to supply that content to you. So that's how that works. So let's take a look at how that goes. So you're allowed to click on the button there, and you can change the photo by clicking the pencil at the headline. And then it allows you to move here and click on the pencil and begin to put in the key areas there. Now, those divider lines that I have, and you'll see many, many people on LinkedIn with that is the key above the enter key and the shift key in tandem. That's how you get the divider lines in between there. So let's talk about this. So tools that you guys need to make sure, most of us are we won't belabor this point, but LinkedIn works with a pencil. Is very simply put, if you're adding content, or editing content, you're going to use. So if you're adding a section, you're going to use the plus sign. If you're utilizing a camera or video, you use the camera. If you're going to upload a document or data, you would use that. And obviously the link for media is associated with if you're going to put something more involved, like a link to a YouTube or something like that. So in this top card, many people nowadays have now input the open to work collar, and that's what you see around Lisa's neck here. So Lisa is an experienced executive assistant, and she is open to work. She also has in her top card chosen to display her asking salary, her need for benefits, how far she wants to drive to work, the fact that she's not willing to do any overnights, and that she'd like to be full-time. Well, I don't have to tell all of the viewing audience here what's wrong with this. So in the essence of time, I'm just so the hashtag open to work was created by LinkedIn to give those that are the hardest hit by the pandemic the greatest opportunity. And so it works positively in many aspects, and in other aspects, depending upon your pedigree and where you are in your career, it can have somewhat of a negative connotation. So let's talk about it. So from the perspective of where Lisa stands as an executive assistant, if she had been out of work for a significant amount of time and she really, really needs work, guess what? Recruiters have the ability, headhunters and talent acquisitions or anyone, to put in hashtag open to work executive assistant and be able to pull up talent just like Lisa. So there are many employer groups that really want to help get people back to work. We have 20 million plus people that are transitioned out of work. And because that's a hard hit audience and a very large number, that open to work collar could have value in getting many, many people back to work and honing in and really being able to say, hey, I know there's a lot of executive assistants that I've pulled up in my search, but Lisa's one that's really been out of work for a minute and is really, really, I don't use the word desperate, but is in need. How it could work against some of our audience here today that may be more senior in their tenured in their career and more at an executive level. Well, at the end of the day, if I am a director, a CFO, a VP, a EVP, or what have you, the presence of mind is that you would exhaust the possibilities first, meaning that you would network endlessly. You might have an executive recruiter or talent acquisition person working with you to help identify jobs, and that you would do a lot of other things before you would place the collar around your neck. Because if I were an executive and say I was the head of McDonald's corporate and I had this collar around my neck, everybody's going to be looking like, wow, this guy is the president of an organization out of work and looking for work this way. He doesn't have any access to resource or tools. You know, what may be going on, what might be going on in this instance. So this is why the open to work collar may or may not work against us. The second piece of why Lisa has some issues here is in this space below. So where my next job, the open to work category information. So in most instances, I recommend that the open to work category information remain for recruiters only. She's got it listed for all LinkedIn members. Everyone should always leave theirs for recruiters only. And I'll show you here when we work through a few of these aspects, you know, the different cards, how you fix that. But that's one of the biggest problems, because the whole world doesn't need to know how much salary she's asking for. Because if I was a recruiter and I was considering, you know, even looking at Lisa as talent, I would know that maybe she's looking for this. Maybe we could get her for a little bit less, or, you know, you kind of know how to make your offering. So I think she's doing herself a little bit of damage by having this on here. Beyond that, she's kind of canceling out everything. You know, we never want to tell a hiring manager, an executive or recruiter, your unwillingness to travel, your unwillingness to relocate. Anything is negotiable. So this is really not a good fit in many ways. Anybody have any questions? Please put them in the chat box. So let's talk about the pros and cons. So the pros to the open to work collar. Ideally, we talked about it already, but I'm just going to quickly go through this. Employers will be able to run a list of LinkedIn users with the open to work badge. There are also recruiters and employer talent acquisition professionals who appreciate the ability to easily identify, with the LinkedIn collar, and then the purpose behind it. It's admirable. COVID-19 has been horrific. And this is a great thing that LinkedIn has done. So kudos to LinkedIn for even coming up with something of this nature. But as I mentioned earlier, on the con side, it's a little too eager, too reactive. It's like, you haven't exhausted the possibilities. You really need to look at, making sure my profile can help me before I go to this link. So have I optimized? Have I done everything with keyword optimization in my headliner and my about section? Do I have the right words that match up to the jobs that I'm seeking in my experience section? Optimizing that profile. And essentially, it tells the whole mountaintop, hey, I'm looking for a job. And I know that LinkedIn is there for you. But sometimes maybe we don't want everybody to know what our circumstances are. So it can present some concerns. So unless anybody has any questions, we're going to move on. So again, focusing in on our top card are the backgrounds. So the background images are the images that we see that resonate in this space. So this blue area here, this is our background space. And so thinking about it this way, as human beings, we are visual and contextual learners, right? So we get enamored and captivated by videos, images, things that we see, pictures, they captivate us. So if we think about LinkedIn from that vantage point, this top banner is the very first thing that anyone is ever going to see. If they're scrolling through LinkedIn, through the various timelines, that's the very first thing they see. So the very first thing that they see about me, I want to send a message about either who I am, the value that I bring, the kinds of things that I'm interested in, my talents, my skills, my capabilities, something that brands you or sends a message about who you are. And so let's talk about some of these background banners. So first and foremost, we've got the one up at the top, my buddy Frank, and he has a very subtle tiled background. It is not the LinkedIn standard background, but it is a background nonetheless. And then we have the one on the bottom from my buddy Rosalind. And so I'd like to poll the audience and ask what you guys think about these backgrounds. And then I want to give you a little bit of insight. And then we're going to move quickly through the background aspects. So anybody have any thoughts on these two backgrounds?
Yes.
Okay.
Sandy.
Okay.
The blue one is way too bland. It does nothing.
Yeah. So Frank is a CIO. And so, he does an awesome job at what he does. But when we think about the background banner, it doesn't really resonate in terms of really singing to the mountaintops, the type of pedigree that he has. So yes, I would agree with you. Kate, I'm sorry. You're on mute, Kate. She took the can down. Anybody else have any questions about it? All right. The one at Kate, you're back. Can you unmute? Yeah, there you go.
Now, hello.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put my hand up. Sorry, just pressed something wrong. But yeah, I agree. I think there needs to be something a little bit more interesting. And on my profile, I actually have the Hollywood sign because, I'm here and I'm in the business. So that I find that's kind of pertainable to what I do. So, at least it gives people an idea of where I am and, what I kind of why I'm here, I guess.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Kate. She's correct. With the LinkedIn backgrounds, we want to have, it doesn't always have to have words. It could have a subliminal message. So with Rosalind's, and that's the one down here in the pink, Rosalind has an amazing pedigree. She is the former chairman of the NAACP. She's a social impact arbiter, and her LinkedIn profile is pretty fierce. But she had trouble really discovering what could I put up in this background banner that would really speak to the essence of me. And so while she waited, she wanted to have something there. And lo and behold, I looked up one day and this is what she chose. And so when I saw it, the first thing that I said was, wow, okay, new horizon, peace, calmness, tranquility. That's what I got from it. But when I called her and I said, hey, Roz, I see you've, chosen something for your background. I really love the idea of, a new horizon, something different you're getting into. And she said, let me write this down. Hold on a second. Let me get a pen. Let me write this down. And I said, well, why in God's name would you need to write this down? And she said, well, to be honest with you, I hadn't thought about it in that way. I was just really trying to match my suit. And I know that a lot of people, she did a great job, I might add, in doing that. And I know a lot of people might have that thought processes in terms of trying to match their brand and blend and that kind of thing. In her case, this is what we call an image that is maybe worth some words, but not, a picture is kind of worth 1,000 words. It's subliminal. People could not necessarily know where she was going with it, but you really couldn't think anything adverse, is my point. So we want to talk about, we've talked about all these things. The objective here with your LinkedIn background banner is to ideally force people that are scrolling to land and stay. We want people to want to get caught up in Rosalind, want to get caught up in Frank, and land and stay on their profile. So here's how some of the others are doing it. So this is one of your own, Danielle. So Danielle, you've got some flowers going on up here in the top of your profile. Can you talk to us about where you were going, or was it a placeholder?
Well, I'm very in love with nature. I love being in nature, and I consider myself having the green thumb. And I also just kind of grew up around a bunch of farmers. Like my grandmother used to farm a lot. She had grew a lot in her garden. And I'm just a lover of nature. So I figured that was the best representation of who I am and where I come from. So it's part of my roots and my background.
Love it. I love where you're going with it. But again, remember, LinkedIn is only as good as the eye of the beholder. So you gave me lots of meat right there in your description of why you came up with this. I think you could keep this same image, but overlay it, maybe utilizing a tool like Canva with a quote or something that speaks to your love of nature, so that people don't have to guess and there's not ambiguity about where you were going here, but really have a sense of the message that you were trying to convey. So that may be some food for thought, maybe overlay, because it doesn't necessarily, I just see beautiful flowers. I think nature, but I don't necessarily think about farming. I don't think about all the elements that you just mentioned, they don't just necessarily resonate. And so I would think about the possibility of maybe doing something with the same image, but overlaying a cool quote or a tagline, a mantra, your motto, your thought processes on this, something that kind of gives more of a branded knowledge of it. So the next one beneath it is Clifford Tracer. So this is what we call a customized LinkedIn banner. Clifford is a lobbyist. He does a lot with governmental affairs, and his background, he wanted to speak to the essence of the work that he does on Capitol Hill. But then he has a brand. So he's a native Chicagoan originally, and he loves the Bears. And so he's going for that blue and orange. So kind of branding himself in the same regard. And all of his business logos also have that same color branding. So everything kind of nicely ties together. The Sandy Nunes, one of your very own. So Sandy, being an executive award-winning producer, the studio is where the world is her oyster. Everything is there. So the world through her eyes is in the lens of that camera in her studio. So she's got her actual studio there along with a quote so that there's no ambiguity about, hey, what's happening here? That's the world through her eyes in the studio. Again, we've got another one of your own, Beverly Gordon. So this is the standard stock image for LinkedIn. LinkedIn gives you this background banner, and it's meant for you to swap that out with something to force people to land and stay. So Beverly, we've got work to do. We'll talk about what we can do here, but these are some things from her image to her headline to her background. Beverly has opportunity, and that's what we want. We don't have, complaints, we have opportunities. So Beverly has some opportunities there. And this is mine. So I am a coach, and I live by a tagline that coaching is definitely my love language. It is who I am. It is what I do, is what I do best. And I work going all across the country, doing keynote speaking and having the opportunity to coach on a variety of different subject matters. And so that speaks to mine. Some of the other things that are synonymous with my background, skills, and experience are listed here in my headline. Some of you may notice also that I actually have the voice box on mine that's found up in the top card. Well, my name is Jacqueline, and many people would like to call me Jacqueline or Jackie or different things like that, but my name is Jacqueline. So to make it easier, I chose to be able to, say it in the voice box so that people have the opportunity with the audio box to be able to know how I exactly pronounce my name. For those of you that have more complex names or something less common, this would be a great tool for you. If you are bilingual and you would like to let people know that you are bilingual, and sometimes people make assumptions that because you might be of another ethnicity that you do speak another language. So this is an opportunity where you also could say your name in another language if you are bilingual. So there's opportunity there as well. So now we're getting down to the headline. So I just like to pick one person, anybody from the audience, guys, if you could just chime in, who would like to answer this question. There are 3 headlines here. We want to talk really, really quickly about which one is winning and why. Anyone out there in our viewing audience that might be able to tell us about this headline? Well, Cliff is the man of the day. So Cliff, let's do it. All right, Cliff, unmute your mic. So tell us which one of these headlines is winning and why.
Well, I kind of like the Mary Gasparovich because she's describing her title. She's talking about her executive status. She's talking about all the things that she is an expert in and has high core competencies in. And right off the bat, I'm seeing she can handle a lot. Yeah. That's my first idea.
And which one is the least liked, Cliff?
I don't know if I'm loving Mark's all that much. Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about why. So from Mary's perspective, you're spot on. Hers is definitely the first ranking best profile, but the reason and rationale here is, again, going back to keyword optimization. I'm talent acquisition. The very first place that I'm doing keyword search, I'm putting in keyword searches. The first place that LinkedIn is going to search and start plugging in names from, that are synonymous with the role is going to be in the headline. So as you said, Mary has given herself a window of opportunity from that first place of keyword optimization. The second would probably be Marcy. I like Marcy's as well. You will see a lot of LinkedIn members doing this, where they have like a branding kind of a statement, transforming sales culture into sales and learning cultures. It's totally fine to do that, but maybe not before you've given yourself some more opportunity with some keywords that speak to what you do. The last one probably would be Mark. Obviously, there's no need to tell someone where you work because within that same top card, LinkedIn lists the name of your last known company over in the right-hand corner. So it's kind of redundant and repetitive to put the name of your company. And right now, the only opportunity he has is if someone keys in the word senior scientist. He's got limited opportunity. So we want to really hone in on where we go with our LinkedIn banners. So headlines that hack really quickly. Talent acquisition. We got Kevin Bodine. He's a senior VP, head of global talent and acquisition at Northern Trust. And we've got Kai Criddle. That is a recruiter at Teladoc, and she's also my daughter. So from both of these vantage points, from a talent acquisition to a recruiter, one of the things that I know is that people always make the assumption that an HR professional or a talent acquisition person is going to know everything that there is to know about LinkedIn. Not so. That is not their job. Their job is not to be a LinkedIn subject matter expert. It is to be able to recruit talent, to know how to work that search engine tool, and to be able to do all the things that their company is looking for them to do to better their workplace environment. It is not to specialize in LinkedIn. Do they know sometimes enough to be dangerous? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So in this instance, Kevin is losing opportunity if he's looking to, one, brand his knowledge and skill in his top card, or two, open himself up for opportunities for people with keyword optimization that may be pulling talent in his pool because he's missing that. His headline here, these are two headlines that I am particularly, I'm not an advocate for. Companies will always give us branded content because they love for us to brand our companies, right? They want us to go out and let the world know, hey, I'm at Northern Trust, I'm at Teladoc. So let's, share that with the world. Well, here's the caveat to that. If you decided, I'll use Kai, for instance, if Kai ever in life, and she loves her job at Teladoc, but if she ever decided to leave Teladoc, Kai has maybe 1,000 connections. As soon as she takes this background banner down, guess what? Now the whole world is aware of information that she otherwise might not be open to share if she no longer was there. Sometimes it's too much information. So if she was interested in sharing Teladoc, I might give a branded customized banner that might have Teladoc half up at the top and maybe something else, because we are in the business of branding ourselves, not the corporations for which we work. And that's real important that everybody think about that, because as we have to transition roles and look into other opportunities, we need to always be thinking about how we can brand ourselves. So I would not use a company branded template in my banner. I would find other places throughout the profile that I could highlight that company and the wonderful work that they do. These are some other cool banners that I am particularly like. We've got a world-renowned chef, Flavio, as well as Rachel McReynolds. And I thought I saw Rachel as one of the registrants here. Rachel, I want to just speak to hers really quickly if I can, because I'm watching my time if everybody's not. Rachel has one of the best top card banners around, and it has many, many reasons. Does anybody have a reason? Melina, do you have any idea why I really love Rachel's background banner? Okay, Melina might not be able. Whoever else is able to unmute, can we get somebody to respond to why? Oh,
sorry, I actually got stuck. My mute got stuck.
So why do we love the background banner?
I think the background banner on Rachel's profile actually shows how she's, it just speaks to the energy, and she's Chief Human Resource Officer. She's about people and culture, and it shows because it looks like it's kind of staff oriented as well. So it just speaks to her being over something, being a chief of something, and how she executes it. I like the energy of it too. It makes a statement.
Yeah, that's a good depiction of why you love it. I'm going to tell you why it really, really stands out here. So Rachel is a Chief Human Resource Officer, and people, culture is her world, right? This picture is what we call a picture is truly worth 1,000 words. This picture says everything. It says diversity, equity, inclusion, philanthropy. It says everything without saying one word. It's a phenomenal picture that really speaks to the essence of it. And what I love best is that we see Rachel, who's cute as a button professionally. Then we see a sillier side of Rachel here above, because that's her making a little hand gesture. I love that because it really speaks to how I can be, professional in the boardroom, but, a lighter side of me. So people get to see kind of a personal side. So this is just a winning background banner. This is an area here that is an area of improvement. So when Rachel recently, about a year ago, transitioned roles, she had an amazing set of keywords that were in her top card, kind of like Flavia, where she listed out all of her skills and talents and her current title. But when she changed into this new role, guess what? LinkedIn has a systematic glitch. So each and every time you start something new, if you don't remember what you have within this top card area, LinkedIn will delete it when you go in for the next role. Sorry about that. It will delete it when you go in for the next role, when you put in some new opportunities. So remember, as you guys go in and start to add content to your headline, you have to ensure that you remember what you're placing there if you want to keep that content top of mind. Again, these are two winning backgrounds and headlines that I really like. CA is one of the former senior VPs at the NBA, very prideful about her city, New York. And you will see a lot of people putting in that kind of content up at the top. But I said, CA, really all that says, if you just put the cityscape or the landscape, a lot of people are notorious for doing it. All that really says is where you're from. It doesn't say anything about the essence of you. So she overlaid it with a text or a quote that kind of gives more context to that. Susan, also an amazing top card, wonderful headshot, totally looks so inviting. But again, a picture is worth 1,000 words. She's a senior vice president of marketing. She's an ideas lady. Aha, the light bulb. So I really like where both of these women were going with that. And we could go on and on. These are yet some other examples that you could go. But I want to talk about customization. So when you put your LinkedIn profile, and this is where we're talking about parity between a LinkedIn profile and your resume. When you put your LinkedIn profile link, your URL at the top of your resume, which you should, or in your tagline signature on your email, which you should, there is LinkedIn first has your LinkedIn profile where it looks like this. Automatically, LinkedIn gives everybody a profile with a bunch of arbitrary letters and numbers right behind their name. It is our job to go in and click that pencil under Edit Your LinkedIn Customize URL Profile and change our name, back those letters and numbers out there and save it so that we have a more customized LinkedIn profile. And I'll show you here in 2 seconds how to do that. So I'm going to skip past that in the interest of time because I want to make sure that we talk about these summaries and some other quick features before we end our time together. And again, like
Jackie, really quickly, I just wanted to check to tell everybody we're going to probably go till about 15 past the hour, if that's good with anybody who can stay. You're going to go probably in at least another 15 minutes, if that works for you, right, Jackie?
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So this is our summary, and this is a summary that I feel is like one of the best LinkedIn summaries ever. So here's why. So on LinkedIn, a lot of people, LinkedIn, the summary section as a whole, and I can best describe it by toggling out of here altogether, and let me escape. And I want to just show you guys rather than tell you, I'll just show you. So on LinkedIn, and I'll go over to his profile. So this is my good buddy, Frank. And so here's what we need to know about Frank. So we talked about, this section. So on LinkedIn, when you go here to add this content, you'll notice that it's called About, right? I'm going to go to my section so I can show you. So when you click on the pencil to add content to the top of your LinkedIn profile in the About section, it's now called description and or summary. So this tells you that this is the first place that LinkedIn kind of does parity between your LinkedIn profile and the summary or executive summary or your profile that's at the top of the resume. So ideally what you want to do is to give some parity by copying and pasting that content over into your LinkedIn. But remember, LinkedIn is meant to go well beyond the resume. So you don't just leave it there. You also need to have some element of a pitch statement in there, something that kind of tells other what's in it for you. If you hire me, if you work with me, if you connect with me, if you engage with me, what value I can bring. So going back to Frank's and remembering, this is the second foremost place that LinkedIn begins to provide those keywords for our recruiters, our talent acquisitions, and our headhunters. So this is the top of Frank's executive summary where it starts at and ends in results. The second one is kind of like his little personal pitch, talks about what he can do and what he's done. And then from a keyword perspective, Frank went all out. So he kind of categorized his professional skills, the domains he plays in, and the industries. So if he's a CIO and the IT is his, sweet spot, he's not relegating himself to only working in food service like with PepsiCo. He's saying, hey, I could do food and beverage, I could do pharmaceuticals, I could do manufacturing, I can do consumer packaged goods. So this is really key and important because, again, from a keyword perspective, Frank is winning. He has words that are synonymous with every possible option of where he would like to go with his career, whether it be current state or future state. He's given himself a lot of opportunities. I see a lot of people putting very little interest here or not having the profile section added at all. So I want to make sure that everybody knows how to do it. So I'm just going to leave it here because I know we're running out of time. So at the top card, there's a section called Add Profile Section. As I begin to scroll down, it kind of pins itself to wherever I am. So when I do a drop down, I go to About and I just add it. In my case, the section's already added, so you need to add the section. Then you're going to do a copy and paste of the summary so that you have parity between the resume and LinkedIn. And then you might make your second paragraph more so of a pitch statement, and then you're going to add your keywords. So this next section that you're looking at is on my profile, and I'll just leave it here. And I also probably would like to, let me use Sandy's as a better example because she has some pretty cool stuff on hers. So once Sandy has added her About section, she said, hey, I want people to know about the different sandboxes that I play in, the things that I've done, and kind of really hone in on who I am. The absolute best LinkedIn profiles are the profiles that have the featured section. So again, clicking on Add Profile Sections up in the top part of this, you add a profile section. And you're going to click on featured, and then you have the opportunity to do a media. That's a stagnant JPEG, a link to like a YouTube, an article, or whatever post that you want. That's going to bring you there. So when you think about Sandy as an award-winning producer and the types of things she's in, she's let you know her professional engagement, and with NAMIC as that involvement. She's got other awards that she's involved in as a producer, things she's covered with for ABC News, her time and engagement with people like Kobe Bryant. She's also involved with professional organizations like Weiss, and the list goes on and on. This is, again, doing the same thing that the top card banner does. It forces people to land and stay, to get to the depth and breadth of Sandy. So if I could ask any of you what key things that I would do where LinkedIn would be more valuable than the resume, the first thing that I would do is simply put is to ensure that my headline, my background, and my top card was winning, because that's the first thing that people are going to see. I would ensure that I had a pretty cool About summary section, and then I would ensure that I had the featured section. The next element is to use the plus sign and to begin to add your workplace experience in here. This is critical. So at the executive level, sometimes you will see Sandy, and this is preferential. And I want everybody to know this because this is really, really key. You're going to look at some executives and you're going to see where they have given complete parity, like Sandy has, between their resume and LinkedIn. So everything that's on Sandy's resume is found on her LinkedIn, right? Why is that key? Well, if I'm talent acquisition or I'm somebody that, is just perusing and I want to know more about this lady, Sandy, I could then click on more and I could say, save as a PDF. And if I clicked on save as a PDF, and I'm sure many of you may or may not know that this happens, look what I get. I get a 3-page rendition of Sandy's entire profile. So if Sandy chose to only put in a little, maybe she chose to just put the names of the companies, because we see people doing that all the time. They might just list all the different companies, the dates, start times, and end times. One, she'd be losing out on keyword optimization because the third place that LinkedIn is pulling those keywords is from experience. But two, she's missing out on the opportunity that remember, LinkedIn is working when you're not. So sometimes people are just actively seeking and looking, and they see someone, they say, hey, I want to show my boss, Sandy. I think she's got some good skills I just want to share. Well, if she only had a little bit, everything from her awards, her top skills, we've got 3 full pages of content, education, everything is out there. So this is real important that if I were to ask the question, should LinkedIn give parity? Now, some executives won't have the bullets. For example, like Frank. Frank says that the CIO of PepsiCo, as some people might guess, that there is the bullets represent the highlights of your work. Some of that is proprietary, right? Some of the things that he's done. So it might be great to have on a resume, but not so great to share with the general public. So that's why you'll see many people, there is no right or wrong. It's all preferential. If you know that, hey, PepsiCo might be, very upset if I shared some facts and figures that are not well known to the public, but they're on my resume, then you might not want to put him on a social platform like LinkedIn. So he's chosen to just give the little robust paragraphs that are synonymous with his resume. These are the key elements. I want to open it up to any questions because I know we've gone over a lot and I could go on forever talking about job search tools and things like that, but I want to make sure that everyone at least has the foundation of the top 3 cards, that being your background banner, your headline, your about summary section, the featured section, and then your experience. And then we'd go into other things like your education, your licenses and certification, and your volunteerism. But really, those are the critical things. And we're going to schedule a part 2 to go over some of what those other things are. So if we have questions, I'd love to answer some questions.
Hi, Jacqueline. It's Johanna.
Hi, Johanna.
Hey, so I have a quick question regarding freelance sort of LinkedIn profiles. When it comes to having, a breadth of work that has, let's say 150 jobs that you've done in a course of 15 or 18 years, and, you've started your LinkedIn 20 years ago. And do you think it's wise to consolidate those jobs into various employers and then have them listed per title, or so that it doesn't overwhelm employers? Because as a freelancer, you can have so many lines. And I think my PDF is like 8 pages long or something ridiculous now. So I'm trying to figure out the best ways, particularly if you're looking for a corporate entertainment job where, they don't understand that you've only worked for a show for 3 months or 6 months or 9 months, and then you moved on.
So to answer your question, simply put, from a resume, so their resumes look very different. A creative, which you could fall into that category, creative and people that work in media, as a rule of thumb, resumes should reflect no more than 10 to 15 years is even a max. Recruiters and talent acquisition, when you start talking about other jobs, so maybe your resume is more descriptive for your first 10 years, and then you truncate, meaning that you might list the name of the company, your title, and the years of service for the other jobs. And remember, a resume is a tool not to tell every single thing about you, because you want something to talk about when you get the interview, right? So that's an opportunity that you could share. You also could do an electronic press kit. You could do a bio sheet that kind of highlights the list of your work, an additional attachment that lists the highlights of some of the career experience. There are lots of ways that you can do that. From a LinkedIn perspective, I would focus in on listing all of your job opportunities, because LinkedIn is meant to do something different than the resume. So to answer the question from a resume perspective, 10 years is what we're looking for. 15 is a max if you have to have it on there, because sometimes the experience gets a little less relevant unless it's a job that I'm going after an industry that I did a while back, and I need people to know that I at least had the experience. So then you probably put it on there. As far as the LinkedIn presence goes, it's fair game. It's all about what you want to reflect about yourself. So if you need people to know, here's every company that I've worked for, and here's a little blurb about what I've done for them, you can certainly put it on there. If it's relative to your experience, you could do something pretty cool with your featured section and add in some attachment links to maybe an electronic press kit or something like that, so that they know about the additional experience. Some people do very creative things like that when they've gone really, really far back. And I think just to give you an example of what I mean by that is my good buddy, Clifford Tracer. So Clifford, is a lobbyist. And as you might know, where some of us may not want to date ourselves, when you're working in politics, people need to know you have a lineage of experience. So Clifford listed his additional experience under projects in other areas of work that he's done, dating back as far as 1984. It's not so much glaring to kind of date him, but it's relative and knowledge that you need in his line of work. People need to know that he has a depth of experience in politics for that kind of work to be a lobbyist. So you could do something similar, after you've done so much. Maybe you've gone up to 10 years here in the experience section, and maybe you could use the project section. Projects, can relate to anything from freelance. So that's one of the things you could use. I'm hoping I answered that for you.
So Jacqueline, we have another question from an anonymous attendee, and he or she is asking, do we have to be posting on LinkedIn daily with value add articles and posts if we want to be perceived as an ideal hire? I just don't have the time for that, but feel pressured to do it.
Excellent question. And here's what you need to know. LinkedIn has a lot of built-in algorithms, right? So the more that we like, share, and repost, the higher our profile comes up in a search opportunity for somebody with similar background and experience than others. So we need to develop a cadence. Developing a cadence takes some of that burden off, because I don't have time to sit up on LinkedIn, even though I'm more or less of a subject matter expert. One of the things that you can do is you can like and share other people's posts. So in the morning, before I move, I meditate. I might take 5 or 10 minutes while I'm having my tea, and I might just forward, like, or share, thumbs up someone else's content. It doesn't have to be content that I curated, just to keep my profile active and the algorithm that's behind it. Because in this section, and you can check it for yourself. So I'm light. This week, I've got a new book that's publishing, and I haven't liked, shared, and reposted as much because I've been focusing on my book tour. But you can go in here and be able to look at your search appearances, and you can look at even who viewed your profile. So let's look at it. It doesn't matter to me. So I proved to myself, I only have 73.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose Jacqueline?
Yeah, did we lose her? Uh-oh.
Gosh.
Stand by, everyone. Let's see if she comes back.
Hold on. Let me grab her. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Don't go away. I'll just get her real fast.
Thanks, Sandy. While we're waiting for Jacqueline, feel free to continue to put your questions in the Q&A box for chatting, and Jacqueline will answer them.
She's coming back, everybody. Hold on.
Perfect.
We're probably going to have to let her in through the channels of her entering in and her raising her hand. Oh, here she is. Okay. Sorry about the technical difficulties, attendees.
Okay, you there, Jackie? You're muted, Jackie.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Oh my gosh. Here in Chicago, we're in the midst of a major thunderstorm here. So I think that's what took us out. And I had to use an alternative program. But can you all see my screen? Hello?
Yes.
Is it the?
It's time for questions. That's what we see currently. Do you
don't
have?
see, hold on, let me see, share. Okay, what about now?
Yes, we can see
Yes.
it, but
Okay, so do you all see what your searches do?
yes.
Okay, so this tells you that these are the types of people that have been looking at my profile, but look here. If I were someone that, was concerned about whether or not I've got the right keywords, well, these people are obviously looking for a career coach or a curriculum director, which would be, i.e. me. So this is something how you can kind of cross-check whether or not you've got the right content out there on the profile. But ideally, your top 3 need to be decision makers. So we want people like recruiters, talent acquisition executives, and that looking at this type of, looking at your profile. So those are things that you need to be mindful of. Any other questions anybody has about anything?
There was another question. Sorry, Danielle, I was trying to make sure you got this, but I'm just going to do it if you don't mind. Luce Villarreal asked about the number of recommendations. She said she has 4 of them. She has a 2-parter to this. How can she change the order in which they appear? And also wants to know about how many is too many. She saw someone who had 19. She's like, is that too many? Just all regarding recommendations.
All right. So to answer the question about recommendations, there is never too many recommendations. The opportunity for someone to endorse the fact that you do great work is always present. The more, the merrier. People will have different commentary. They'll be looking for you from a different vantage point. So here's the algorithm for success with recommendations. You want someone you've worked with, you've worked for, or that you've managed to endorse the fact that you do great work, or that you've worked alongside even. So there's 4 different options: with, for, managed, or alongside, that endorses the fact that you do great work. You should have a mixture. It should not be all one category. You want people to see all vantage points of how you engage and how people feel about you. And you can have as many as you want. The sky is the limit there. To place them in different order, well, you can simply, the option that you have in terms of order is to simply, hold on here. Stop sharing. Let me show you. If you go over to, I don't know if I'm out of LinkedIn or not. I'm going to share this with you guys real quick. When you're in LinkedIn and someone is a share screen, let me show you on LinkedIn. Okay, can you guys see my LinkedIn screen? So when you're on LinkedIn and you go over, I'll just show you from my own profile. If you go down to the bottom where people have done your recommendations. So let's say I didn't want Clifford's on there. I can just click here and no show. That will recategorize, your profile. Now you can't move them around because they're date stamped, but you can in fact remove a recommendation, but you can't necessarily move them around the way you can move this content around by kind of moving these 3 prongs here. So if that answers her question, I'm hoping it does.
How about, do you need LinkedIn Pro to see the keywords? Can you talk a little bit about the comparison of LinkedIn Pro and a regular LinkedIn account?
Yeah, so the thing that you need to know about LinkedIn Pro, again, if you have done what you need to do in terms of, and this is a topic for another session, but if you've done what you need to do, and if I got into the mix of showing you how to go in here and do a job search and really be able to network on a different level utilizing LinkedIn, you don't necessarily need premium. However, premium allows you to have access to things like here. So when you go over here to this little area where it says work, you could go to LinkedIn Learning and you could be able to take courses and not have to pay a per diem and just be able to get certifications in different courses from LinkedIn Learning. But there are a great many things that you can do on LinkedIn without having to have premium, and I really feel about LinkedIn in this way. If you're on LinkedIn, you should be on there, one, to have a preferred professional brand and a presence, but you also should be there to network. And everyone should take this one piece of advice with them. It's never important until it's important. So when someone that you've chosen to connect with reaches out to you to ask a question or to seek information, and if they're not selling something and they just need help, think about, one day I might be in that position and I might need the resource. It's made for us to network and engage and support one another and to link up and help and garner information and educate ourselves. That's what it's there for. So the fact that I go on my LinkedIn and I go over here to the dashboard and I see view my profile and I see, oh, Christine Torres looked at my profile. Why do I care? I don't mind. It's not hurting me in any way. In fact, everyone, go look at my profile. It's fine. That's the reason it's there. So if you're on here and you're concerned about who viewed your profile, I don't know that that's the purpose behind LinkedIn. We want people to look at our profile. And guess what? If I saw someone here that I might be a resource to, or if I ever see a recruiter or a talent acquisition person, because it's always good to have one of those in your back pocket, I might message them and say, hey, I'd love to, I see you were checking out my profile. I would love to learn more about the work that you do. We should connect. That's what LinkedIn is about. So, and knowing who's looked at your profile, well, I might not know the person's exact name, but I can see that 8 people from Challenger have looked at my profile. I can see that somebody from Namick has looked at my profile. So you do have ways to garner information. If you have premium, it unlocks this. It unlocks it. I've never had to have it because I just don't need it. I don't care who's looking at my profile. I welcome it. And if I get people, I always let my network build up. And then I go in and decide whether or not I want to accept certain connections. The algorithm for success with connections should be 75-25. 75% of the people you rightfully know, or you can lay hands on if you needed them. The other 25, I don't know them at all, but it makes sense that I would connect with them because they could at some point potentially provide value. Hoping that helps answer some of
Jackie, that's been amazing. An amazing session. Thank you so much. A few things. So you want to let everybody, if you want to dive in deeper with Jackie, work on your LinkedIn, your own page. If you need more help, can they do that with you? How should they get a hold of you?
So can they see my screen? Mm-hmm. So my contact information is there. Right. They can do a screenshot of my screen if you want. Otherwise, when the session is over, as my gift to the members of Namick, Sandy or Danielle will be sending out a little gift that allows you guys to tap into me more one-on-one for a special Namick only pricing to do a variety of whatever you need in terms of career search, resume development, bio sheets, whatever, you name it. Just let me know. And I would be glad to support you. Or you can feel free to call me or reach out to me via email or tap on over to my website.
Right.
That's wonderful. You'll be hearing from me, Jackie.
Oh, yeah. Really, really generous of you. And I mean, I can't tell you, as I've used Jackie's services, which is how she's come to us. I can tell you firsthand, she is amazing. I mean, I feel so blessed to have been able to work with you. Plus, you're just an amazing person. So, I mean, that's
too kind.
That's the best part of it, is to work with somebody that, you really enjoy their company and really trust. And she's taken really good care of me. So, what an amazing experience. So, and by the way, everybody, for those of you who are still on, I mean, you can see that there are a lot of layers here. There's a lot to talk about. She didn't get to other areas that we can explore. We may do a follow-up maybe in a couple months, sort of at other areas of LinkedIn to explore, and we'll follow Jackie's lead on that. But I mean, it's really, really important information. And I think in this world, like, everybody needs sort of that extra edge, right, Jackie?
Yeah,
So
stay ready. Stay ready.
Stay ready. It's competitive out there.
It is.
So we got to stick together. We got to be stronger. So once again, thank you so much. Danielle, you have any other closing words here?
No closing words. I hope everyone got a lot of great tips from Jackie. I think I did for sure. I learned a lot. So thank you so much, Jackie, for those helpful tips. And thank you for giving us your time.
You're welcome. And sorry about the technology glitches here. Pray for us in this rainstorm.
Yes. Stay warm, girl. Stay warm.
All right,
All
guys.
right, everybody. Thank you so much. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.